January 29th, 1945. 2:47 p.m. Holtzheim, Belgium. First Sergeant Leonard Funk round the corner of a farmhouse and freezes. 90 German soldiers are facing him. About half already have weapons in their hands. The rest are grabbing rifles from a heap on the frozen ground. Nearby, 4 American GIs kneel in the snow, hands locked behind their heads. 20 minutes earlier, these Germans were prisoners. 80 of them had been captured by Funk's company during the assault on the village. With manpower stretched thin, only 4 Americans had been left to guard them. It wasn't enough. Now the prisoners are free, armed, and rapidly organizing for a counterattack against Company C from the rear. A German officer strides forward, jams an MP-40 submachine gun into Funk's stomach, and begins shouting in German. Funk doesn't understand a word of it. Neither does any American present. The officer yells again, louder, his face flushing with rage. Funk looks at the mass of German soldiers. He looks at his 4 captured men. He looks down at the gun pressed into his gut, and then he starts laughing. The officer recoils, confused, then furious. He screams again. Funk laughs harder. What follows unfolds in less than a minute. 21 German soldiers will be killed. The rest will throw down their weapons and surrender. And Leonard Funk will be awarded the Medal of Honor for one of the most audacious acts of combat in World War II, all because he couldn't stop laughing. Leonard Alfred Funk, Jr. was born on August 27, 1916, in Braddock Township, Pennsylvania, a steel town of smokestacks and foundries lining the Monongahela River 8 miles east of Pittsburgh. He grew up fast. Responsibility came early. By the time he graduated high school in 1934, he had already spent years caring for his younger brother. The Great Depression was deep into its 5th year. Jobs were rare. College was out of reach. In June 1941, with war raging across Europe and Asia, Congress expanded the draft. Funk's number was called. He reported to the induction center in Wilkinsburg, Pennsylvania. He was 24 years old, 5'5", 140 pounds. The Army physical examiner likely saw a future clerk. He was wrong. Funk volunteered for the paratroopers. In 1941, American airborne forces were barely more than an experiment. The idea of jumping from aircraft behind enemy lines and fighting surrounded sounded insane to most soldiers. The men who volunteered were different and had to be. Airborne training was designed to break people. 5 brutal weeks of running, climbing, jumping, falling, and relentless physical punishment. Half the candidates washed out. Those who remained faced jump towers. Then aircraft. The first time you step out of AC-47 at 1,200 feet, every instinct in your body screams to grab the door and hold on. The ground looks impossibly far away. The wind rips at your face. Your parachute is nothing but fabric, cord, and faith. Funk earned his jump wings. He was assigned to Company C, 1st Battalion, 508th Parachute Infantry Regiment at Camp Blanding, Florida. In late 1943, the 508th shipped to England and joined the 82nd Airborne Division, the All-Americans veterans of Sicily and Italy. These men had already jumped into combat. They had already killed. They had already watched friends die. Funk was a newcomer. At 27, he was old by paratrooper standards. Most of the men around him weren't even 20. But Funk had what they lacked: maturity, calm, and a steady competence that made others trust him without question. By D-Day, he was a squad leader. Before long, he would be acting as the company's executive officer. First, though, he had to survive Normandy. June 6, 1944, 1:30 a.m. The sea. 47 Skitran shudders as anti-aircraft fire bursts around it. Funk stands in a stick, a line of paratroopers waiting to jump. 60 pounds of equipment strapped to his body, an M1A1 Thompson submachine gun, ammunition, grenades, rations, a medical kit. The aircraft is flying at just 400 feet. Far too low for a safe jump, but the pilots can't climb. German flak fills the sky. Tracers streak through the darkness like fireflies. Shrapnel rattles against the fuselage. The airborne phase of D-Day involves 13,000 paratroopers from the 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions. Their mission is to land behind the beaches, seize bridges and crossroads, and block German reinforcements. Almost nothing goes as planned. The green light flashes on. Funk jumps. The prop wash slams into him like a blow. Then the parachute opens, and the world falls silent. Below him lies France, occupied France. Enemy territory in every direction. From the first moments, the airborne operation dissolves into chaos. German fire scatters formations across 50 miles of countryside. Some paratroopers drown in flooded fields, dragged under by the weight of their gear. Others land inside German positions and are killed before they can cut themselves free. Funk hits the ground hard. His ankle twists violently, badly sprained, possibly broken. The pain is instant and severe. Every step for the next 2 weeks will be agony. But he can walk. He can fight. That's enough. He buries his parachute and starts moving. He is 40 miles from his drop zone, alone in the dark, deep inside German-held territory. Within hours, he has gathered other lost paratroopers, men from different units, companies, and regiments. 18 in total, all of them looking for someone to lead. Funk steps forward and does exactly that. For 10 days, Funk leads a group through German-occupied territory. They move only at night, hide during daylight, and fight when there is no other choice. Despite his injured ankle, Funk insists on walking point, taking the most dangerous position himself to shield the men behind him. On June 17th, they finally reconnect with Allied forces. Every man makes it back. Not a single casualty. 10 days behind enemy lines. 40 miles across occupied France. Leonard Funk brings them all home. For this, he is awarded the Silver Star, the Army's third highest decoration for combat valor, along with a Bronze Star for meritorious service and his first Purple Heart. And he's only getting started. September 17, 1944. Holland. Operation Market Garden begins, the largest airborne assault in history. 35,000 paratroopers drop into the Netherlands to seize a chain of bridges over the Rhine. American, British, and Polish airborne forces jump together. If it succeeds, Allied troops will be inside Germany by Christmas. Field Marshal Montgomery's plan is bold, perhaps too bold. Airborne units must capture and hold 7 bridges spread across 64 miles of Dutch territory. Ground forces will race north along a single highway to link up with them. The plan depends on speed, surprise, and everything going exactly right. Almost nothing does. The British First Airborne Division lands at Arnhem, the most distant objective. They are immediately surrounded by SS Panzer divisions that intelligence said were not there. For 9 days, they fight street by street, house by house. When it's over, only 2,000 to 10,000 men escape. The bridge too far becomes legend, a permanent warning in military history. Leonard Funk, however, doesn't see the big picture. He only knows his orders. Support the landings. Secure the drop zones. Kill Germans. After landing, his company secures its objective without incident. Routine airborne work. The 508th Parachute Infantry Regiment operates near Nijmegen, helping seize bridges that will allow Allied ground forces to advance. Then Funk spots something that doesn't belong in the plan. 3 German 20mm anti-aircraft guns are firing on incoming Allied gliders. Those gliders carry reinforcements, jeeps, artillery, ammunition, medics. If the guns keep firing, hundreds of men will die before ever touching the ground. The gun position sits on high ground near the village of Auckenswoord. Roughly 20 German soldiers man the site. Sandbags, camouflage, interlocking fields of fire, a prepared defensive position. Funk is 3 men. Standard doctrine says an attacking force needs a 3-to-1 advantage. Funk is outnumbered 7-to-1. He attacks anyway. Leading from the front, Funk and his three-man patrol charge the position. They eliminate the security troops, overrun the gun pits, and destroy all 3 anti-aircraft weapons along with their crews. 20 Germans, 3 Americans. The guns fall silent. The gliders land safely. For this action, Funk receives a Distinguished Service Cross, the Army's second highest award for valor, surpassed only by the Medal of Honor. Now he holds both a Silver Star and a Distinguished Service Cross, 2 of the rarest combat decorations in the U.S. military. Most soldiers who earn even one are remembered as heroes for life. Funk still isn't finished. December 16, 1944. Germany launches its final, desperate gamble. 3 armies, 400,000 men, 1,400 tanks, nearly 2,000 artillery pieces. They smash into American lines in the Ardennes forest, driving toward the vital port of Antwerp. Hitler's plan is reckless and nearly works. The goal is total. Split the Allied armies, seize Antwerp, force a negotiated peace in the West, and turn everything east against the Soviets. For American forces, it is a nightmare. The attack slams into lightly held sectors manned by inexperienced units, and exhausted veterans pulled off the line to rest. Entire divisions collapse. Thousands of soldiers surrender. The German advance carves a 50-mile deep bulge into the Allied front. The Battle of the Bulge begins, the largest and bloodiest battle the U.S. Army will fight in World War II. Before it ends, nearly 89,000 Americans will be killed, wounded, or missing. The weather is merciless. Snow, ice, temperatures plunging to 5 degrees below zero. Men freeze to death in foxholes. Weapons jam. Engines refuse to start. The cold kills almost as efficiently as the enemy. Then comes Normandy. December 17, 1944. Just one day into the offensive, a convoy from the 285th Field Artillery Observation Battalion approaches the Bognez Crossroads. There, they collide with the spearhead of Camp Grub Paper, an elite SS armored battle group. The Americans are rear area troops, artillery observers, radio operators, unequipped to fight tanks and armored infantry. After a brief fight, 113 Americans surrender. They are herded into a nearby farmer's field, disarmed, hands raised, prisoners of war. Then the SS opens fire. Machine guns, pistols, rifles. The Americans are slaughtered where they stand. Men who try to run are cut down. The wounded are finished with shots to the head. 84 Americans die in that field. A few survive by playing dead, lying motionless in snow as German boots crunch past them, as German voices laugh nearby. After dark, 43 survivors crawl away and make it back to American lines. The news spreads fast. German forces are executing prisoners. Normandy changes everything. Before this, the war in Europe followed certain unspoken rules. When situations became hopeless, soldiers surrendered. Prisoners were treated under the Geneva Convention. There was a grim professionalism between enemies. After Normandy, those rules vanish. American soldiers swear they will never surrender to the SS. Some units pass down unofficial orders. No SS prisoners. When Leonard Funk hears about the massacre, something inside him hardens. He has already seen too much. Normandy, Holland. Friends die in fields and forests across Europe. But this is different. This isn't combat. This is murder. Leonard Funk has already made his decision. He will never surrender to the Germans, no matter the cost. That choice is about to matter. January 29, 1945. The Ardennes. The German offensive has finally been stopped. Now the Allies are pushing back, village by village, through snow and ruins. Company C, 508th Parachute Infantry Regiment, receives orders to seize the Belgian village of Holtzheim. There's a problem. Company C is badly understrength. The executive officer, the second in command, has been killed. There aren't enough riflemen left to mount a proper assault. Leonard Funk is now the acting executive officer. He studies the roster, counts the names. counts the gaps. Then he makes a decision. Funk walks to the company headquarters tent. Inside are clerks, supply men, cooks, soldiers who exist to keep the unit running, not to fight. Men who rarely leave the rear. Funk looks at them and speaks plainly. You're all infantry now. Grab your weapons. We're taking that village. He forms an improvised platoon. 30 men who have spent most of the war behind desks. They've had basic training, yes, but real combat? Most of them have never fired at another human being. Funk doesn't hesitate. He needs bodies. He'll make them soldiers. The march to Holtzheim is brutal. 15 miles through waist-deep snow in a driving blizzard. Temperatures are well below freezing. German artillery shells burst around them, harassing fire probing their flanks. Funk leads from the front. They reach the village. Funk organizes the attack, then moves forward with his clerks-turned infantry. Holtzheim is small, 15 houses, but every one of them is occupied. German riflemen, machine guns, grenades, house by house. Funk and his men clear the village. 30 Germans are captured. Not a single American is lost. On the opposite side of town, another Allied unit captures 50 more enemy soldiers. 80 prisoners in total. They are gathered in the yard of a farmhouse, disarmed and corralled. Funk surveys his men. They're exhausted, marching, fighting, freezing for hours without rest. And there is still resistance elsewhere in the village. Isolated Germans who haven't surrendered yet. He can only spare 4 men to guard the prisoners. Keep them here, Funk tells the guards. We'll send reinforcements as soon as we can. Then he turns and heads back into the fight. He has no idea what is unfolding behind him. While Funk continues clearing Holtzheim, a German patrol approaches the farmhouse. 10 men, maybe 20, wearing white camouflage capes over their uniforms. In the snowstorm, they look almost indistinguishable from American troops in winter gear. The 4 guards don't recognize the threat until it's too late. The Germans rush them. Weapons are stripped away. The Americans are forced to their knees in the snow. Then the prisoners are freed. 80 German soldiers, plus the patrol that released them. 90 men. They move fast. Weapons are grabbed from the pile. Orders are shouted. Positions assigned. They know exactly what they intend to do. Attack Company C from the rear. Funk's men are scattered across the village, mopping up resistance. They aren't expecting an attack from behind. If 90 armed Germans hit them now, it will be slaughter. The German officer in charge, likely a lieutenant or captain, steps forward and begins issuing commands. Machine guns here. Ambush positions there. Wait for my signal. That's when Leonard Funk walks around the corner of the farmhouse. He's come to check on the prisoners. Routine. Make sure the guards are holding. See if reinforcements have arrived. He is not expecting what he sees. Funk stops cold. The scene is unreal. His 4 guards are kneeling in the snow, disarmed. The prisoners, who should be contained, are standing freely, rifles in hand, preparing for combat. The German officer spots Funk instantly. The First Sergeant stripes on his sleeve mark him as a leader. A valuable capture. The officer strides forward, jams an MP-40 submachine gun into Funk's stomach, and screams an order in German. Surrender, drop your weapon. Funk doesn't understand a word of it. The officer shouts again, louder, face flushed, veins standing out in his neck. Funk takes it all in. 90 Germans, half of them armed. His 4 men helpless on their knees. 1 other American soldier beside him, equally powerless. The math is simple. There's no version of the scenario where Leonard Funk wins. Outnumbered 90 to 1. The rational choice, the sensible choice, is surrender. But Funk remembers Malmedy. 84 Americans executed in a field, shot down after surrendering, left bleeding and freezing in the snow. He has already made his decision. He will never surrender. So instead of complying, Leonard Funk does something no one expects. He starts laughing. No one knows exactly why. Maybe it was deliberate, a way to confuse the enemy, to buy time. Maybe it was shock. The human brain reacts strangely when death feels certain. Maybe it was genuine. The sheer absurdity of the moment. An officer screaming in a language Funk couldn't understand, expecting obedience. Later, Funk would say he tried to stop laughing, but couldn't. Something about the officer shouting in German hit a nerve. Whatever the reason, the effect is immediate and profound. The German officer screams even louder. Funk laughs harder. He bends forward, shoulders shaking, and calls out to his men, still laughing. I don't understand what he's saying. A few of the German soldiers begin to laugh as well. The tension twists into something surreal. Their officer is turning purple with rage, and this American won't stop cackling with a gun pressed into his stomach. The officer is completely thrown off. This isn't how prisoners behave. They beg, they plead, they obey. They don't laugh. For a few critical seconds, the German officer hesitates, and Leonard Funk uses those seconds. Still appearing to laugh, Funk slowly reaches toward his Thompson submachine gun. It hangs from his shoulder in the standard paratrooper carry position. The German officer watches closely. Good, he thinks. The American is finally surrendering his weapon. Funk's hand closes around the grip of the Thompson. Carefully, slowly, he begins to slide it off his shoulder. The officer relaxes just slightly. Another prisoner. Another trophy. He has no idea what's about to happen. Then Funk moves. One motion, faster than conscious thought. He swings the Thompson down, snaps the muzzle into line, and pulls the trigger. The M1A1 Thompson fires .45 ACP rounds at roughly 600 rounds per minute. At point-blank range, each bullet hits with crushing force. These aren't wounds, they're destruction. The first burst slams into the German officer's chest. 30 rounds in less than 3 seconds. The officer is dead before he hits the ground. Funk doesn't hesitate. He can't. The instant he fires, the choice is made. Kill everyone in front of him or die. There is no middle ground. He pivots, fingers still squeezing the trigger. The Thompson sweeps in a brutal arc, spraying lead into the nearest cluster of Germans. Men scream. Men collapse. Blood splashes across the white snow. Spent brass ejects into the air, clattering down, steaming in the frozen cold. The magazine empties. 30 rounds gone in seconds. This is the moment that decides everything. A Thompson takes about 2 seconds to reload if you know what you're doing. 2 seconds is an eternity in a firefight. 2 seconds is enough time for 90 Germans to kill one American. Funk doesn't give them the chance. He rips the empty magazine free, slams in a fresh one, racks the bolt, and fires again. The entire reload happens in a blur, muscle memory, thousands of repetitions compressed into a single flawless motion. At the same time, he's yelling at the top of his lungs. Pick up their weapons. Pick up their weapons. The 4 American guards, second to go helpless prisoners, scramble from their knees, grabbing rifles dropped by the dead and dying Germans. In an instant, they're no longer captives. They're fighters. The Germans are in complete disarray. Their officer is dead. The American who was laughing is now cutting them down. No one ordered this. No one prepared for it. No one knows who's in charge. Some Germans fire back. Bullets crack past Funk's head. One round kills the American soldier standing beside him. Funk keeps moving, keeps firing, keeps killing. Now his men are shooting too. The Germans are caught in a crossfire they never anticipated. It's over in less than a minute. 60 seconds. 21 German soldiers lie dead in the snow. 24 more are wounded. More than 40 throw down their weapons, hands raised. The prisoners are prisoners again. Leonard Funk stands amid the wreckage. Bodies scatter across the yard, smoke curling from the barrel of his Thompson. He looks at his men. That, he says, was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. The aftermath is almost anticlimactic. Company C secures Holtzheim. The surviving German prisoners are marched to the rear, under far heavier guard this time. Funk reports the incident to his commanding officer. Just another firefight, just another day at war. But the story spreads through the regiment, through the division, across the entire 82nd Airborne. The sergeant who laughed at 90 Germans and killed half of them with a Tommy gun. When the Medal of Honor recommendation reaches Washington, no one questions it. What Funk did at Holtzheim isn't debated. Outnumbered 90-1. A German weapon pressed into his stomach, ordered to surrender. Instead, he attacked. The official citation states that a German officer shoved a machine pistol into his abdomen and ordered him to surrender. Although overwhelmingly outnumbered and facing almost certain death, First Sergeant Funk pretended to comply, slowly unslinging his submachine gun. Then, with lightning speed, brought the muzzle into line and riddled the officer. He immediately turned on the remaining enemy soldiers, firing continuously while shouting to nearby Americans to seize enemy weapons. September 5, 1945, the White House. President Harry Truman places the Medal of Honor around Leonard Funk's neck. "I would rather have this medal," Truman says, "than be President of the United States." Let's take inventory. Medal of Honor for Holtzheim. Distinguished Service Cross for silencing the anti-aircraft guns in Holland. Silver Star for leading 18 men 40 miles through enemy territory in Normandy. Bronze Star for meritorious service. 3 Purple Hearts, wounded 3 separate times and kept fighting. Foreign decorations follow. The Croix de Guerre from France. The Order of Leopold from Belgium. The Military Order of William from the Netherlands. Their equivalent of the Victoria Cross. Leonard Funk becomes the most decorated paratrooper of World War II. 5'5", 140 pounds. A former store clerk who became a legend. Then the war ends. Funk goes home. He doesn't write a book. He doesn't tour lecture halls. He doesn't turn his Medal of Honor into a career, a platform, or a brand. He returns to Pennsylvania and takes a job with the Veterans Administration, the VA, the massive bureaucracy tasked with caring for America's former soldiers, helping veterans navigate paperwork, processing disability claims, cutting through red tape for men who gave everything and now need help getting what they're owed. It's the same kind of work he did before the war. Quiet, unglamorous, necessary. For 27 years, Leonard Funk sits behind a desk helping other veterans. He rises through the ranks, eventually becoming division chief of the Pittsburgh Regional Office. A steady salary, predictable hours, a pension waiting at the end. His wife, Gertrude, stand by him through it all. They raised 2 daughters. They live in McKeesport, Pennsylvania, a working-class neighborhood in a working-class town not far from where Funk grew up. Somewhere in the house, the Medal of Honor rests in a display case. So do the Distinguished Service Cross, the Silver Star, and the foreign decorations from France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Leonard Funk almost never speaks of them. When people ask Leonard Funk about Holtzheim, about the laughing, about the 90 Germans, he brushes it off. "I did what I had to do." That's it. That's all he ever says. November 20th, 1992. Braddock Hills, Pennsylvania. Leonard Alfred Funk Jr. dies of cancer. He is 76 years old. He is buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Section 35. Grave 23,734. Among the dead of every American war. At the time of his death, he is the last surviving Medal of Honor recipient from the 82nd Airborne Division of World War II. A fitness center at Fort Bragg, now Fort Liberty, is named in his honor. A highway in Pennsylvania bears his name. In 2023, a post office in McKeesport is dedicated to him. And yet most people have never heard of Leonard Funk. They know Audie Murphy. They know Alvin York, names etched into American memory. They don't know the short, quiet paratrooper who laughed at 90 Germans and killed 21 of them with a Tommy gun. Here's what Leonard Funk's story tells us. War doesn't favor the biggest. It doesn't favor the strongest. It doesn't favor the reckless or even the fearless. War favors the ones who keep thinking when everyone else has stopped. At Holtzheim, Leonard Funk had every reason to surrender. The odds were impossible. 90 against 1. A machine gun pressed into his stomach. His men already captured. Any rational person would have given up. But Funk wasn't thinking about the numbers. He was thinking about Malmedy, about 84 Americans murdered in the field, about what happened to prisoners who trusted the Germans. He was thinking about his men, the 4 guards on their knees, the soldiers scattered across the village who would be slaughtered from behind if those Germans were allowed to act. So he laughed. Maybe it was a tactic. Maybe it was stress. Maybe the absurdity of it all. But while the German officer hesitated, while the moment slipped out of balance, Leonard Funk moved. 60 seconds later, he was standing in a yard full of bodies, alive when he should have been dead. There's a line often attributed to President Harry Truman about the Medal of Honor. I would rather have this medal than be President of the United States. He said it to Leonard Funk. September 5th, 1945. The White House Rose Garden. Think about that. The most powerful man on earth. The man who had just ended World War II. The man who would shape the global order for generations. Looking at a 5'5" former store clerk from Pennsylvania and saying, I'd rather be you, because what Truman understood, what anyone who reads a Medal of Honor citation understands, is that courage isn't about size, strength, or even training. Courage is what you do when there's a gun pressed into your stomach. And 90 men want you dead. Leonard Funk laughed. And then he killed them.